उसे कहेंगे कि सबको कहें कि Ambassador, just host the event and I will be joined because my net is disconnected. I'm sorry, there was a net disconnection. Sorry, Mr. Arvind, please go on.
Thank you. Indeed, how can this same narrative, built on marketed concepts such as regime, butcher, barrel bombs, chemical attacks, atrocities, systemic tortures, etc., still be the norm of a constructive dialogue in the face of over 500,000 casualties, millions of refugees, and a scorched earth policy of mass starvation of the very people the West is fond of to allegedly liberate? Excellencies, we have reached the most dire and critical junction, whereupon the meaning of words have allowed a pack of wolves to hijack the very essence of the United Nations system. This system, to be sure, isn't perfect, but it is itself the legacy of World War II, which has prevented humanity from self-annihilation for over 75 years. However, in order to give peace and resolution of conflict a chance, we must refrain from falling prey to cynicism and bad faith in order to seriously tackle the immense task of fighting the scourge of war as set out ambitiously by the Charter's founders. Let us live up to their expectations by ceasing to instrumentalize the United Nations systems and its various organs for purely political agendas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Arvind. This is a very good and very extremely thoughtful presentation has been given, an insight given by you. I request to all of my respected speakers that your speech, please send us your speech by email. I will be posted email address here, because we want to make it the declaration, so that this declaration should be transmitted to the international organizations, and as well as to lead our efforts towards investing in peace in Syria and the Middle East. Thank you very much. And I just want to say that now Her Excellency President of Ecuador, she is the educationist, peacemaker, peace broker, and making the way for the people of Ecuador to be getting in power, because the Ecuador is in a way of the elections and a new path of the prosperity towards the respect of human rights, and she is having a great vision. Being as a leader, she is having a great vision towards peace processes. Her Excellency Madame Roselia Arteguiza, the former president of the Ecuador, the floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you very much. Good morning here in Ecuador, probably good evening where you are now, or good afternoon. I'm sorry for the delay in joining the meeting. It was misunderstood about the hour of the presentation today, but I'm a lot interested in human rights and how we can help to have really a world peace with the recognition of human rights in everywhere, in any place in the world. We in Latin America, we are suffering a really hard situation because of the diaspora of Venezuelans going out of the country because of the political situations of this country. It is the first time that we had in Latin America something like that, because for economical situations, they had been problems and people had to emigrate and leave their countries in different periods of our life because of economic crisis. But this time it's different in Venezuela, with more than 5 million Venezuelans going out of the country. In Ecuador, that is a small country, we have almost 500,000 of Venezuelans living. And why I start my speech talking about Venezuela is because some people find some similarities between Venezuela and what's happening in Syria. And of course, it has to be with how population are feeling, how is the situation of leaving their homes. I was reading something about Syria. I had never been there, but of course, I'm very I have a lot of solidarity about the situation, especially of women and kids. That is so important then to establish a dialogue for a political dialogue for peace in Syria. I think it is very important, not only for the region where Syria is located, for the Arab world, for this side of the planet, but also for humanity. I am totally convinced that if there is a spot in the world where we don't have the consecration, the determination to have the human rights in all the levels, from the first generation, second generation, third generation, as you, Ambassador Sahid, said many times, we will not have peace in the world. We need that the human rights, that all what means the recognition of the rights of the people in different areas of the world is so important for the world peace. And of course, Syria is one of the places that call the attention for the world in many moments of our lives. The only thing that I want to say is that in Latin America, we are concerned about this situation, and we feel that we can put our efforts also to make the dialogue possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We are, as we are proposing the peace plan once again for the peoples of Syria and the Syrian conflict, I requested to the Prime Minister Ruiz Dato Barros to also lead the delegation to go into Syria with the International Human Rights Commission with the peace plan. Those so that the all political parties, we negotiate the all political parties over there, all groups over there, as well as to the government over there, so that in the wake of that, I will also request to Your Excellency to be a part of the delegation, so that the world should hear and we should hear over there the peoples, as Mr. Arnavid said and the Member of Parliament, Mr. Nabil Thomas, said in the wake of this presentation in the conference. We will lead the negotiation into the Syria, so that the people, those who are from the last 10 years, are living in agony and living in the crisis, should be get back to their own homeland with the respect, honor, and dignity again, once again. So thank you, Excellency. Now I am giving the floor to the Secretary General of the International Human Rights Commission, who's just joining after the case of the one of the Negro has been killed in United States. He was representing us over there. Ambassador Malik Nadeem Abed, the floor is yours, Secretary General of the International Human Rights Commission.
In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficent, Honorable Chairman, very Honorable Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to be a part of you, among you once again, and I apologize for joining you late. Just like Mr. Chairman mentioned, I'm observing the case of one of the US citizens, African-American US citizens, Mr. George Floyd, in the hands of a white police officer. So I just came out to make a quick statement, brief statement. First of all, the intervention I strongly believe on as a standard rule that intervention in any sovereign country should only be done by the request of the host country. And all the proxy wars of so-called superpowers must end now. It's a time that the destiny of the countries and the nations should be in the hands of the people of those countries. This war, which has killed hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians, is nothing more than the proxy war between the two superpowers and some of their representatives and friends to control the resources of Middle Eastern countries. This must end now. And I'm going to make another quick reference before I go back to the courthouse, a quick reference of the then Secretary of State of the United States of America, General Colin Powell, who came to the Security Council and made a statement that he has personally seen the weapons of mass destructions in Iraq before they destroyed the whole country, before they killed the president of that sovereign country. And that proxy war is still going on even after 1.5 million innocent Iraqis have been killed. And similarly, the same thing is going on in Syria. I think the world has to unite now and make sure that we have one voice and we are on the same page, that no intervention in a sovereign country can be done by any superpower or so-called superpower. The destiny of these countries should be in the hands of the people of that country. All the foreign powers must get out of Syria right now, and the peace efforts, and as a matter of fact, not just the peace effort, because the destruction caused by the intervention of the so-called superpower must be repaired and reconstructed. A special fund should be created after the pulling out of these governments and the powers to give the life back to these people, the people of Syria. We cannot bring the lives of those people who are killed without any of their mistake or fault, but at least we can secure the country and the community and the future of innocent children. Those children who just born during this conflict, they have the right to live and enjoy their life just like you and us, like every one of us, just like every citizen of the so-called developed countries or the Western countries. So we must demand the international community to strengthen this voice and be on the same page and demand the pullout of all the foreign wars, foreign countries and foreign powers from Syria, Iraq, and all those Middle Eastern countries, and let the future of those countries be decided by the people of those countries. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I really appreciate all your efforts and the efforts of every speaker here and participants here. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless people of Syria, Iraq, and all those Middle Eastern countries who have been occupied by the superpowers for a long time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador Nadeem Malik, Secretary General of the International Human Rights Commission, for your insight. And we will definitely do our part to make the humanitarian crisis to be end. Before I'm going to give the floor to the Ambassador, Dr. Hassan Boussaid, our special envoy to the United Nations Geneva, and as well as the special representative of Middle East and in charge of the Secretariat, I want to highlight the few words which has been President Bashar al-Assad of Syria has been pointed out to offer his willingness to talk. He said, The political solution in Syria will be as follows on the stages. The first stage, he pointed out, firstly, the adherence of the all concerned regional and international countries to stopping funding and harboring gunmen in parallel to the escalation of a terrorist operations in the way of facilitating them, the return of the displaced Syrians to their original residing areas safely. Secondly, finding a mechanism to guarantee the adherence of the all sides to the former item and curbing the borders. Third, the current government starts intensive communication with the all Syrian society spectra with all its parties and bodies to run open dialogues for holding a national dialogue conference as all sides desiring a solution in Syria from inside and outside Syria can participate as well. On the second stage, the current government called for the comprehensive national dialogues conference for reaching a national charter that adheres to the Syrian sovereignty, its unity and territorial integrity. It also rejects the foreign interference and renounces all type of the terrorism and violence. As this charter, as he said, that the national charter is to be presented for the popular referendum to getting the will of a people in Syria. Thirdly, a broadened government is established where the Syrian components are represented, as it is a task to implement the items of the national charter. President said on 4th, the constitution is presented for referendum, and after it is ratified, the broadened government adopt the laws agreed on in the dialogues conference according to the new constitution, including the election law, and then carrying out the new parliamentary election. On the third stage, he proposed, firstly, a new government is formed according to the constitution. Secondly, a conference for national reconciliation is held, and an amnesty to those arrested due to the events given, which preserving the civil rights of their owners. Thirdly, working on rehabilitating infrastructure, reconstruction, in addition to compensate the citizens affected. This is what the President Assad has highlighted, and it was the all that components which has been suggested in 2013 by us, and still the President Assad is standing on the same components. By this note, Ambassador Hassan Busayyad, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. First of all, I would like to send my salutation to Her Excellency, the President of Ecuador, and to my friend, the Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau, Dr. Rui Barros, and to all my colleagues at the International Human Rights Commission. Dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to emphasize on what Prime Minister Barros said. I believe we discussed this matter, and I'm confirming what His Excellency said at the beginning of his speech on the hosting of Guinea-Bissau, with many thanks what they did. And we spoke a lot, and we tried to find also an alternative situation to bring help to the many countries, including Guinea-Bissau. This is number one. Number two, and before starting to dissect the data that brought the situation in Syria to the way things have reached, it must be stressed that social and political reforms are among the basic points that the state must undertake and stipulated in all local and international constitutions. However, the exploitation of this negligence, which is not justified in order to eliminate an entire society by countries and groups that have been classified as terrorists, this is unacceptable and must be condemned and constantly reminded. As for being dragged behind international slogans to satisfy certain parties at the expense of the Syrian society and its security, this also must be condemned as well. Unfortunately, there are personalities and officials who have informed us of serious confessions regarding their involvement in the Syrian events and exposed the scheme of some officials in Arab and Western countries and revealed the size of the plot that they plotted to topple the regime in Syria with their prior knowledge of the blood bill that will occur, not as indifferent as they claim in the media statements. The other problem is the size of the media facility that international bodies proceed by fabricating the media and filming crimes that occurred only in the Hollywood films that they produced and marketed through well-known international satellite channels, and they were affixed to the Syrian army as the one who committed them. And attention has turned a blind eye to the humanitarian crimes committed by the Takfiri groups, which we call the terrorist groups that are condemned by the United Nations, and logistical and financial support by 98 countries, and all this under the pretext of protecting the Syrian people. 40% of the Syrian people have been displaced between inside and outside the country under the same pretext, and here the displaced are living the worst reality of their life in diaspora countries, despite the funds they announced and were estimated at tens of billions of dollars. And all this is, in the majority of it, the military support went to the people fighting amongst themselves. As for the chemical issue that these countries played on their strings and put pressure on the fact-finding committee, and not referring to any party that used it in Duma, Eastern Ghouta, and Khan al-Assad, which changed it to accuse the Syrian army of this and acquit the groups of that to escape from uncovering specialized laboratories for the manufacture of these types of missiles. Backed by Arab and foreign countries, it must be noted here that Syria has handed over its stockpile of chemicals and weapons to an international committee that recognized this, and despite this, those countries used the pretext to accuse the army of using it against civilians without showing any reliable evidence, except for media statements and films fabricated by terrorist groups, and with full coordination with the White Helmet and the countries that media channels that funded these fake campaigns. From here, we point out the importance of opening a transparent investigation into all that was issues above and bringing them to a court to be agreed upon between the main parties and who are known of their integrity. And we also call on all concerned countries to engage in the work of serious
Ambassador, are you there? Ambassador.
I think some problem with his voice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's like frozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot hear him.
Yeah, we cannot hear him. In the meantime, he joined. Because this is the virtual things. Today we are somehow facing these connectivity problem as well. So hopefully, as he will join, he will continue his speech. I'm going to give the floor for the time being to Ambassador Malik Naseem Ahmad Khan. He is the former elected reserve member of the Swedish Parliament, and he is also heading the International Human Rights Commission Vice Chair for the European region. Ambassador Malik, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman. and all the respective dignities. And for me, I always call all of you are here. You have a true human rights heart and human rights activists and defenders. The civil war in Syria started in March 2011. It's now been 10 years since the start. Not only has this situation rocked the foundation of stability in Arab countries who have taken millions of refugees into their countries, but it has also impacted Europe, America, and every other country where refugees are traveling to. Such a grave situation has been going on for far too long now. Numerous dialogues and ceasefires have only temporarily stopped the fighting and allowed terrorists to reorganize and regroup. All of the speakers, they have shown their interest from their heart and their willingness to work. But I think we must see the situation has also affected the sovereignty of Syria with the influx of foreign troops, but also threatening neighboring autonomous regions, all which have contributed towards less stability, more chaos, as very rightly the chairman has said, and our respected Secretary General has mentioned, the foreign troops, the invasions. The situation in Syria is so periled that only it is worthy of an agenda item at the G7. I just want to remind all of my friends here, we know there is one region, Africa. There was going to be sanctions, there were going to be invasions in Zimbabwe with Mugabe. But the African countries united themselves. They said, no, we will solve our problem. Let us sit and do it. Why not the Muslim countries? What is the problem there? I think before we say to the European countries, to the Americans, or any other foreign troops, why not the Muslim countries sit themselves together? It is their problem. It is their invasions. It is their people coming inside and going outside. And same thing is happening, not in Syria, in Palestine. Same thing is happening with the Kashmiris also. The Muslims are not united. They are just looking at each other. Their own interests are there. I think it's the time for a concrete solution. The situation is in Syria is so parallel that only it is worthy of, as I said, an agenda at the G7. Every country should take it up now. I can give you the example of my country. My Prime Minister, Rohit Palme, he was not a Muslim. He was the only one who became between Iraq and Iran. All the countries, Muslim countries, they had their meetings, everyday meetings to have a ceasefire, but he succeeded. What he gave them the notice. He recited one of the words of the Holy Quran, said, the Muslims should not hit back to each other. I think it's the high time. All my friends sitting from the Muslim countries here, I said, we must wake up. It's the high time for us also, instead of looking at the others, The situation needs to change, and dialogue and a timetable must be established whereby citizens of Syria can be free again to live in their own homes. In my county, in Kalmar, we have more than 1,000 refugees from Syria coming. Who they are? Doctors, engineers, brain drain in Syria. Our countries are happy that we have educated people, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have nurses. But what is
Ambassador,
happening in Syria?
we are running out of our time.
Yes, but so my request is that the Muslim countries should wake up all together. They should make up an agenda, come to the United Nations for not a ceasefire, for a permanent solution. Thank you very much, Chairman, once again.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Ambassador Hassan has joined again, but I think there was a destruction of the internet. Ambassador, you have a 1 minute to go on. Ambassador Hassan. Ambassador Hassan.
Okay.
You have a 1
Can you hear me
minute to
now?
go. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry for this interruption due to the electricity and the internet shutdown. So I was at the end and I was saying that I was ending by saying that from here, we point out the importance of open, transparent investigation into all that was issued above and bringing them to a court to be agreed upon between the main parties and who are known for their integrity. And we also call on all concerned countries to engage in the work of serious accountability for those persons in countries who have reached the situation in Syria to what it has reached. For us, it is especially those who supported money, those countries that are backing and still backing all these terrorist groups. And unfortunately, we came back to the first point of the escalation since the 2011, as we understand from various resources, political resources and military resources as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, in the end of this, with the conclusion, we have drafted the one resolution on the conflict of Syria. Presenter of the chair of the International Human Rights Commission, revised draft resolutions at the conference. Having received with the appreciation the report of the Middle East Office, recalling all relevant International Human Rights Commission and United Nations resolutions, reaffirming the official policy statement of the IHRC chair on the Syrian crisis, having been informed in the briefing given by the chair and the Middle East Office on the present situation of Syria as of today, has accepted the peace plan. The government of Syria has accepted the peace plan in 2013, and then the President Bashar al-Assad has made the National Reconciliation Charter. Today, we resolve the present crisis. To resolve the present crisis in Syria, President Assad also mentioned the way forward in the televised speech, which endorsed the peace plan of the International Human Rights Commission, which has been presented on the 4th of January 2013, including for the today conference, the former Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau and the lifetime member of the International Human Rights Commission, His Excellency Rui Dato Barros, has also given a 7-point to end this conflict, will be a part of this resolution. In the light of
Chairman, I'm sorry, I'm not cutting you off, but I would like to make an announcement if it's possible, because I told you about it before.
Yes, please.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I can confirm here that I received today a call from officials in Syria inviting us to visit officially with an official delegation of the International Human Rights Commission as intergovernmental organization, and to send a letter tomorrow in this regard, after we form the official delegation and inform them about the names with all their titles, specifically to make all the official arrangements and to make all the official visits, to stand still with the all the evidence that we are working on, and to visit sites that we would like to see also, and archive this this visit officially and send it back to the UN through the proper channel.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's in very good news. So let me continue. That the light of the present position of the government Syria, as indicated in the reports of the World Chair, the today delegates of the conference once more considered the situation with a view to making additional appropriate recommendation as suggested by the Prime Minister Rui Dato Barros, to send to the United Nations, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, League of the Arab States, European Union, and other international organizations who want to be a part of the peace process in accordance with the policy and respect of sovereignty of the all member states of the United Nations. 1. Condemn the failure of the United Nations to address the situation of the Arab Republic of Syria and protecting its sovereignty, which is intervened by the fellow member states by providing the support to the armed opposition and some terrorist organization in violation of the United Nations Charter itself. 2. Reaffirms the all illegal action and support of the other countries in the crisis, and practical results there cannot be recognized irrespective of the passage of a time. 3. Reiterates the demands made in this resolution and by this conference, in particular, the immediate and full withdrawal of the Israel from the Golan Heights and from elsewhere. 4. Demands the Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, United States of America, and Russia immediately seize and reverse all the action taken illegally under the international law against Syria and their support towards the armed opposition and those terrorist organizations which are terrorizing the people of Syria and killing innocent, kidnapping and killing of the foreign nationals and the journalists on the soil of Syria. 2. That we must assist the people of Syria to decide their fate and the way of democracy which they can themselves more right, but to the peaceful manner and the struggle. That we must support the present process initiated by the International Human Rights Commission with all its international collaborators to implement the reform agenda promised and accepted by the President Asra in the AKS peace plan, followed by the suggestions given by today the Excellency Prime Minister Rui Dato Barros. Request the serious action may be taken against those countries that are supporting the terrorism and terrorist groups, which we consider the interference in the internal affairs of Syria and every country. On the name of human rights and democracy, even that countries never allow their own peoples to have the right of a freedom of a speech and expression, and they never respect the international laws on human rights. 6. Call upon all the members of the United Nations to coordinate their activities at all international forums so as to ensure the implementation of this resolution. The need of an action according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to continue to ensure the respect of international law, which ensure the respect of each country and its sovereignty. Request the chair to follow up the implementation of this resolution, which has been presented here today in the conference, and to consult with the other international forums. Decide to add generally the session of the International Conference on the Crisis of Syria 2021 temporarily, and to authorize the World Chair to resume its meeting upon the request of the today's participants according to the Constitution of the Commission. This is the resolution which we have been drafted and we will be shared to the to all the participants. And I hope those who have made the remarks today should send us their own speeches so that we will be taking some more points into this resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and thank you, Your Excellency. And we will be conveying to the Syrian authorities and the opposition peoples that the International Human Rights Commission going to lead the peace mission once again on the soil and outside of Syria, and the Prime Minister Rui Dato Barros